Gemini, the Ten of Swords appears when a story has reached the point where repeating it causes more pain than ending it. This week is not asking you to deny what happened. It is asking you to stop making the worst moment the narrator of everything that comes next. An ending can be real without becoming your identity. Your card for August 5th through August 11th is Ten of Swords. The central message is that the chapter is over when you stop negotiating with the version of the story that keeps you powerless. The shadow expression would be replaying a conclusion so often that it begins to feel like proof about your future. The wiser expression is acknowledging the wound, extracting the lesson, and refusing to build tomorrow from yesterday's final sentence. This is not a prediction that one literal event must occur. It is a decision-making lens for recognizing the pattern when it appears. On August 6th, Venus enters Libra and moves through your fifth house of creativity, romance, pleasure, courage, and self-expression. Venus brings attention to attraction, values, harmony, and the quality of exchange. Through the lens of Ten of Swords, this transit asks you to notice what becomes more appealing when you are acting from self-respect rather than habit. Let beauty and connection support the lesson of the card, but do not use harmony to avoid the truth the card is revealing. On August 9th, Mercury enters Leo and activates your 3th house of communication, learning, daily movement, and the stories you repeat. Mercury changes the way information moves, how decisions are framed, and what needs to be spoken or understood. For Gemini, this can help translate the message of Ten of Swords into language and practical choices. Use the transit to ask better questions, clarify assumptions, and give the central lesson of the reading a form you can act on. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer and moves into your 2th house of money, resources, self-worth, and the standards behind your choices. Mars brings drive, friction, courage, and the desire to act. Its energy can help you implement the lesson of Ten of Swords, but it may also tempt you to rush before the emotional meaning is understood. Direct the energy toward one constructive action in this area rather than allowing irritation or urgency to choose for you. The deeper invitation of Ten of Swords is not to perform the card's most familiar keyword. It is to notice the choice beneath it. For Gemini, that choice may appear in the space between instinct and response. You may already understand this situation intellectually, but the week asks whether your behavior reflects that understanding. Watch for the moment when an old reflex offers immediate relief. That moment is not a failure, it is the doorway into a different decision. Also notice what you are tempted to make this card mean about your identity. Ten of Swords describes an energy and a lesson, not a permanent definition of who you are. You can work with its message without turning it into a verdict. The most useful question is not, "Why am I like this?" It is, what response would make this pattern less powerful by the end of the week? In love, the Ten of Swords may reveal a pattern that cannot continue in its current form. This is not automatically a breakup card, it can be the end of silence, avoidance, suspicion, or a way of communicating that has exhausted both people. Venus entering your fifth house restores warmth, flirtation, and creative pleasure, but only if you stop using old disappointment as a reason to remain emotionally absent. At work, an idea, method, or responsibility may have reached diminishing returns. Your mind is fast enough to keep rescuing something long after it has stopped being worth the rescue. Mercury entering your third house strengthens communication, writing, negotiation, and learning. Use that clarity to close one loop and redirect your intelligence toward a problem that is still alive. With money, Mars entering your second house can increase urgency around earning, spending, or protecting resources. Avoid making a financial decision simply to prove that you are no longer vulnerable. Let the Ten of Swords end one costly pattern, especially one driven by panic, pride, or the need for immediate relief. Your energy may improve when you stop carrying unfinished mental arguments into every quiet moment. Rest is not effective when the mind keeps reopening the same case. Create a clear stopping ritual for work, messages, or research, and allow your nervous system to receive evidence that the day has ended. Wednesday is for naming the ending without dramatizing it. One honest sentence can replace a week of mental debate. Thursday, Venus enters Libra and your fifth house. Choose pleasure that reconnects you with life rather than distraction that helps you avoid it. Friday asks you to stop checking whether a closed door has changed its mind. Redirect that attention toward what is available now. Saturday supports creative recovery. Make, write, sing, sketch, or explore something with no requirement that it become productive. Sunday, Mercury enters Leo and your third house. Say the thing clearly, send the message, or organize the information that has been circling without resolution. Monday is for a practical reset. Delete, archive, cancel, or complete one item that symbolizes the finished chapter. Tuesday, Mars enters Cancer and your second house. Protect your resources, but do not let fear turn every decision into an emergency. Here are your 3 journal prompts. Where is the lesson of Ten of Swords already visible in my life, even if I have not named it? What would change if I practiced this week's central truth, that the chapter is over when you stop negotiating with the version of the story that keeps you powerless, in one concrete situation? Which response would allow me to respect both my feelings and my future? Your weekly guidance is this: write a final paragraph to the story you are ready to stop repeating. Do not send it to anyone. Begin with, what happened mattered, but it no longer gets to decide. Complete the sentence with 5 specific areas of your life. Then write one action that belongs to the next chapter, and take it within 24 hours. Do not use the exercise to create another standard you can fail. Use it to collect evidence. The purpose is to make the message of Ten of Swords visible in behavior, because insight becomes trustworthy when it changes one real decision. Gemini, this week does not require a dramatic reinvention. It asks for one honest correction repeated consistently. You may notice that the old pattern still speaks loudly, but volume is not authority. Let the card become a lens rather than a label. Let the astrology provide timing and context rather than certainty. Most of all, let your next action become proof that awareness is already changing the way you move. One more layer deserves attention. This card can become distorted when you try to solve its lesson through performance alone. A polished response may look convincing while leaving the deeper pattern untouched. This week, measure progress by what becomes simpler, more honest, and more sustainable after the decision. Notice whether your body relaxes when you tell the truth, whether your schedule becomes more coherent when you choose a priority, and whether your relationships become clearer when you stop managing every possible reaction. The card is not asking for perfection. It is asking for congruence between what you know, what you say, and what you repeatedly do. One more layer deserves attention. This card can become distorted when you try to solve its lesson through performance alone. A polished response may look convincing while leaving the deeper pattern untouched. This week, measure progress by what becomes simpler, more honest, and more sustainable after the decision. Notice whether your body relaxes when you tell the truth, whether your schedule becomes more coherent when you choose a priority, and whether your relationships become clearer when you stop managing every possible reaction. The card is not asking for perfection. It is asking for congruence between what you know, what you say, and what you repeatedly do. One more layer deserves attention. This card can become distorted when you try to solve its lesson through performance alone. A polished response may look convincing while leaving the deeper pattern untouched. This week, measure progress by what becomes simpler, more honest, and more sustainable after the decision. Notice whether your body relaxes when you tell the truth, whether your schedule becomes more coherent when you choose a priority, and whether your relationships become clearer when you stop managing every possible reaction. The card is not asking for perfection. It is asking for congruence between what you know, what you say, and what you repeatedly do. The Ten of Swords also asks you to notice the difference between analysis and repetition. Analysis produces a new understanding, a decision, or a useful question. Repetition produces the same emotional result while creating the impression that more thinking is required. When you catch the mind returning to the finished chapter, give it a task that belongs to the present. Write the next email, organize the next step, learn the next skill, or speak to someone who knows you beyond the wound. Your intelligence is not meant to serve as a museum for old pain. It is meant to help you recognize when the evidence has changed and when your life deserves a new conclusion. Your affirmation for this week is, I honor what ended, release the story that imprisons me, and turn toward the life still opening. Carry that with you through August 11th. Subscribe so your next weekly reading is waiting for you. Trust the timing. The stars have spoken.